Because right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks, Josh Taylor, very much, and welcome into the Fan Cave, everyone. This is where we do sports business with you every single night of the week. You know the drill. Call us at 412-575-2600. That is the number for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. If you'd rather tweet, it's at KDPomp and at the Pony Express. Andrew Filipponi up at 93.7 The Fan. Was a very busy day today. We'll get into the trades in a second, but we'll first start with Mike Tomlin and his I would say endorsement, but not fully yet. At least it's not 100% guaranteed that Russell Wilson will start. You and I had this conversation last night. I thought that Justin Fields would get the start for the following reason. Number one, their offensive line has a bunch of new players, a bunch of guys switching positions, a whole bunch of injury. And Russell Wilson, along with Fields, but Russell Wilson was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the game last year. I admired what he'd been able to do with, Denver's pass game in terms of touchdown passes, red zone touchdown passes, all of that. But this may be the wrong time to put him in.
They had their best running game of the season. He on his own right, rushed in 2 touchdowns, including a 4th down pass play that he turned into a rushing touchdown, which was a huge play at the end of the first half there. So, yeah, I'm bamboozled by it. I'm flummoxed by it. Okay, you told Russell Wilson one thing back in March, but that wasn't in blood. That wasn't in writing. That wasn't a guarantee. Circumstances have changed. You're tied for first place with the best point differential in the AFC. I'm not saying that it needs to be Justin Fields' job the entire year, but I think he has to falter or show you that he's not up to the challenge before you make the move, and I just don't think that's happened yet, Bob.
Yeah, and I also looked at the schedule here, Andrew, and I saw a couple of home games prime time. Fields is 4-2. He's accounted for 10 touchdowns, 1 turnover, although there were other turnover-worthy plays. He's fumbled a lot. In fact, I think he leads the NFL in most fumbles as a quarterback, although he recovered just about all of them. But you got 2 games at home against teams that you'll be favored against. Then you have a bye week. I think there was plenty of time to do this. I was just a little surprised it was now. I know he's healthy. We'll see what happens. But I would expect that Justin Fields has a part in this game, whether or not he starts or not. I can't believe that they would just not utilize his talents in some capacity.
Yeah, and Mike Tomlin said that Fields' X factor is his legs. Well, he's talked for years about how he thinks quarterback mobility is such an asset. Now he's going to sit down one of the great running quarterbacks currently going in the NFL, one of the best running quarterbacks of all time. And hey, if Fields had bad, the completion percentage, if it was low, he was missing easy throws, if he was throwing interceptions, neither one of those 2 things are true. And, Bob, they're going to play a Jets defense that is 3rd in sacks and 5th in pressure rate. Mm-hmm. Mike Tomlin talked about how Will McDonald's one of the great pass rushers no one knows about in the NFL. You're down your starting center. Broderick Jones has really struggled at right tackle. You've got so many young guys up front. Is this really the time to put in Russell Wilson? Tomlin himself even said that Russell Wilson is going to have to knock off rust. I don't want him knocking off rust in a game like this. It's a big game. I mean, you can knock the Jets to 2-5. If you lose to them, well, now they're only a game behind you in the playoff picture, and they'll have the tiebreaker.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to risk that in a game like this Sunday night.
That's another thing we were talking about earlier, just the implications of this game. You may not think much of Week 7, but after their loss last night to the Bills, a close game that probably should have won, missed field goals and all that kind of stuff and the penalties, but if they win, they're all of a sudden back in it, and not only that, they have the tiebreaker, and they have a new wide receiver. We're going to get to that in a second because we have to take a break. We have a lot of people want to talk. Davante Adams goes from Vegas to the Jets for a 3rd, which could become a 2. And then you had Amari Cooper, who, honestly, I believe that this is a terrific pickup for the Bills. They got some very talented skilled players, not the least of which is Keon Coleman from Florida State. You also have Khalil Shakir. You have 2 of the best tight ends in the game and 2 pretty good running backs. You add Cooper there, who's a no-nonsense guy. I think that's immensely helpful to them. And they had to counteract what they saw today from Davante Adams. Real quick, your take on both of those, and then we'll go to break.
Yeah, well, I didn't think that the Steelers were going to make a trade with either team because the Browns in division. And then I just don't think Mark Davis, even though they've made the Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant deals, that's big-name wide receivers going to the Raiders. I couldn't imagine Mark Davis wanting to help out right now a team that he's had such a long rivalry with. So I thought there was going to be a tax that was going to be applied to both teams in terms of giving up more. I would have taken Amari Cooper before Davante Adams, Bob, because it's less complicated with the money, and he's also proven to be a guy that can be content and satisfied with his situation, whether that's the Browns, Raiders, Cowboys. He's been traded before, and he's always produced.
Yes, and now the question is, what will the Steelers do to help their wide receiving core? We'll talk about some names, and we'll get your phone calls as well. It's 412-575-2600. You are watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're here live on KDKA Plus, and on the radio, it's 93.7 The Fan. Call us right now. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night comes from PFF, highest graded guys on defense. You see Aiden Hutchinson, who's out for the year, had to get immediate surgery after what happened, a gruesome injury in that game against Dallas. Watt is second. You see Cam Hayward there. They both had really good games last week. They're going to have a big game this week as well because Aaron Rodgers now has somebody else to complement Garrett Wilson, and it's Davante Adams. And you may say, okay, he's moving on, coming on, or jumping on a moving train. Mike Tomlin likes to use that. If anyone can do it, he can do it, especially given his track record against the Steelers. If you look at last year's game, the Steelers won in Vegas, but they could not stop Davante Adams, and he's had really good career numbers against the Steelers. So this makes them a really difficult team to try to diagnose, especially with Breece Hall, who comes out of the backfield and does a lot of stuff, Andrew. So this is not going to be an easy assignment at all.
Well, it just goes to show you that it really is all about Aaron Rodgers there. They put all their eggs in his basket at 40 years old. He made some really good plays last night. He made some not so good plays in that loss last night. And then blame Mike Williams for that last interception. And lo and behold, reports today that Mike Williams will be the odd man out there, and he's going to be put on the trade block. And honestly, I would expect the Steelers to at least see what that's all about. They wanted to sign Williams. They had a visit set up with him in free agency, and then he went to New York, and allegedly they wouldn't let him leave the building. They brought breakfast in. He stayed there, and he ended up hammering out a one-year deal. He's not fit in New York, only 10 catches this year. But I think the Steelers feel like this guy would fit their offense. So don't be surprised, Bob, if Mike Williams ends up coming to Pittsburgh here as a result of this Davante Adams deal.
Yeah, and in his case, it's just a one-year deal, so it could be a rental. You have basically $7 million of his $10 million left. That's easy for them to digest. We also have this tweet in, and this is from Ryan Zedek, who talks about other opportunities you might see. And I had it here, now I don't have it here. That's the problem with doing this live tweeting stuff. You know, I try, Andrew, and then all of a sudden everything changes. Anyway, he mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. He mentioned Mike Williams. He also mentioned Cortland Sutton. I don't know that Denver's going to do that. There are certain teams that are out of it. If you're going to talk about Tennessee, you can also throw in Calvin Ridley. You can throw in Tyler Boyd. They have a lot of people down there if you're looking in that direction. I got to believe that Omar Khan will do something at some point before this trade deadline.
Well, yes, and I get that. Apparently Mike Tomlin, part of the thinking here with Russell Wilson is to get more of a passer into the offense. But I'm sorry, I don't think many quarterbacks would be able to succeed at a high level with the parts, with the players that they have here. The offense is set up to run the ball, not throw it. That's where their investments have been. They only really have one wide receiver, and depending on the week, Bob, you don't even know if you can count on George Pickens to be a legit number one wide receiver. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I go with Ben Roethlisberger on this. He said that, in his opinion, the legs of Justin Fields outweigh the downfield passing threat that you would get with Russell Wilson. He wants to stick with Fields, and I'll take Big Ben's word for it. I would continue to stay with Justin Fields, too. I think it's interesting, Bob, one more note here. NFL Network put the cart before the horse and said a change is happening. No one else has reported that. Okay, I understand the way Tomlin sounded today. He's leaning towards Wilson. Right. But I think it's interesting that only one outlet went as far as to say that the quarterback change is definitely happening on Sunday.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be also gamesmanship on the part of Mike Tomlin. There are a lot of things at play here. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, we have our number one Cochran Go One Better caller of the night. We're going to go to Joel in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Joel.
How you doing? It's good to be on the show. I listen to you guys all the time, all day, actually. Don't get a chance to call in often, but I do. There's a couple of things I wanted to note. that I was hoping the PM team would have mentioned today. But the two things that came to mind, that the reason they may start Russell Wilson, maybe two of them together make, say, a what we need. Maybe he's going to put Russell in to get us down the field a little quicker, and then put Fields in and run it in the end zone. So maybe two of them together. He didn't cancel the idea of using both of them.
Yeah,
so
but that's not his repertoire, Joe. I don't see him rotating guys or doing. Now, would he be advised if he starts Russell Wilson to use Justin Fields? Certainly. But, again, I cited that red zone passing number that he had last year, and that's just 1 year ago in Denver, where he had a lot of touchdowns in the red zone and very few mistakes. Fields does give you the running component, but Russell's not going to be running, especially, I think, coming off this calf injury. So I think whoever starts will get the lion's share, if not all of the play. But if it's Russell Wilson, I would expect somehow, some way, to Fields to get in this game, Andrew.
Bob, I'm worried about Russell Wilson starting this game and finishing this game because of the offensive line issues and because of how long he holds onto the ball. Unless something has changed in him and he's going to get it out faster like Ben did in the final years of his career here, when he just would get it and then immediately get rid of it, hot potato style, I think there's a chance he aggravates that calf injury, because the Jets will send pressure. Quinnen Williams up the middle, one of the great defensive tackles in the NFL. Bob, he's going to be standing over a guy that's going to make his first start, Ryan McCollum, who's an undrafted guy. That's a big mismatch. So I'm just concerned about that with Russell Wilson, him being able to not only be effective in this game, but just being able to stay upright and finish this game in one piece.
It's not just Quinnen Williams. It's the fact that you cited Ryan McCollum. Now you have a whole new quarterback center exchange problem. They've already had their issues in that department, and I know that whenever you put two new people in there, all of a sudden against that dude, you could have some problems as well. Back to the lines we go. We have Matt in Butler. What's up, Matt?
Hey, guys. The only other point that I can make is Tomlin has said time over time after time, we got to get started faster. We got to get started faster. And we, with have not been able to do that. So I think he's doing this in an attempt to say, look, we know we're going to have to score some points, and we're going to have to score them early so that we can hold the line, because the defense cannot continue to go out there like the Dallas game. 3 turnovers, we get a bunch of field goals, and it comes down to the last play, and we just keep putting the defense out there. It doesn't work. Detroit.
Well, that's the way they want to play it, though. They want to play a kind of a tight to the vest game. That's the whole philosophy with running first. That's why Arthur Smith was hired here. I just think they had a game plan, Andrew. I think if you're going to peel everything away here and just look at this, they had a game plan coming into the season that Russell Wilson was going to be the guy, that he can do things in a pass game that can help them, even with the run game that they have in place. But I didn't think they anticipated this happening, so Justin Fields starts 6 games. I really came away thinking Justin Fields is the guy I would want here in the future based on the 6 games that I've seen. So they're sticking to what they think they thought they were going to have at the beginning of the year. Whether or not it works, who knows?
Well, and I understand there being a curiosity with Russell Wilson. Look, I'm not ruling out the possibility that he plays well here. I'm not that anti-Russell Wilson. I'm more arguing the timing of it. We still have 11 games left in the season. That's still plenty of time to figure out what you have in both quarterbacks. If Justin Fields loses to the Jets and then plays against the Giants and plays poorly, you got a bye week. You can regroup then, and then Russell Wilson's got the entire second half of the season to play it out. It's just this preemptive move to pull Fields when you're coming off a game that you won by 19 points. It's just so strange to me. I've never seen anything like it, where a guy who was in a, quote, open quarterback competition, had a winning record, was coming off a big win, and then got yanked out of there because of what? The last caller said he wants to see faster starts. Well, Tomlin also said, Bob, that starts aren't everything. He said that the other week. So which one is it?
Well, I heard that, and I don't agree with that. You want to start fast all the time. He may have said that just because of the way these games have unfolded, and he'll cite examples that, well, slow starts, we still had the lead late in the Dallas game, and then, I mean, you can make whatever, you got to start fast. I think they all know that, and they all want to do that. That could be driving this decision. We got to take a break. We'll come back with more. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. KDK News at 11 starts in about 6 minutes from right now. Josh Taylor's at the anchor desk. Josh.
Bob, tonight district leaders hear the final recommendations on a plan to close some Pittsburgh public schools. Plus 2 major debates tonight in the state of Pennsylvania, and Kristen Emery is tracking a weekend warm-up. It's all coming up at 11. See you in a few minutes. All
right, JT, thanks very much. Let's go out to Fred in North Huntington, our next caller here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Go ahead, Fred.
Hey, Bob, I know that the offensive line has been, had a lot of injuries so far early in the season, but I wanted you and Andrew's take on how you thought Mason McCormick was doing. I actually think he's done a pretty adequate job for all things considered. I know it's an early sample size, but do you also think that may make James Daniels, expendable next year?
Well, he was at the end of a deal anyway, so, if he plays well, he'll get that job, or they'll look elsewhere. I think he's done well, Andrew. I mean, you could isolate on all those guys. I think Broderick Jones has had more problems than Mason has, it seems like at times. And I know it's a different assignment, but McCormick's done okay. He's missed some blocks, but I mean, overall, to being thrown into that situation, you can't expect anything more, I don't think.
As a 4th-round pick, I think he's been fine. I think Zach Frazier's been their best offensive lineman, and that's why this injury is such a significant one. Now, it's only week to week, so that's good. It's not one that's going to keep him out for a long period of time. But this is a big game on Sunday, and to not have him, I do think could be damaging to this offensive line. Sam Alu's been good. I think Dan Moore started off great, Bob. He's been giving up sacks the last couple of games. He got beat badly on Sunday, but overall, he hasn't been bad either. I give the offensive line like a grade maybe of a C+ through the first 6 games, but a big reason why is all the injuries they've had.
Right. I mean, they can't afford another one, that's for sure. We'll see how it goes on Sunday.
Yeah.
Pony, thanks very much. Appreciate it as always, and we'll see you on the PM team later this week. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. We'll join you again tomorrow night, 10:35, for another edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Good night.